Hey, patients and family, this is Dr. Mark Supernaw. You are live for the Masterclass Virus class. We're going to have a blast tonight. Should be lots of fun. And if you guys, just some housekeeping stuff here, is that if you guys have questions along the way, please put it in the comments. Nani and Keisha are going to be responding to you guys, answering questions, feeding me questions along the way if you guys will too. Just a little bit of an update for you guys from last week. My name is Dr. Mark Supernaw. I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. Practice here with my wife, Dr. Joelle. And again, we've been here for 16 years and I've been serving this area for a long time. A little bit about me. I had really bad asthma and allergies growing up to the point that I was taken to the hospital, injected with something. And I was given an inhaler to take home. I had all kinds of breathing issues. And the more I used my medicines, the more side effects it came with. The side effects it came with is it started having headaches when I was 12, 13 years old. The doctor said, give him Tylenol and aspirin. I started taking Tylenol and aspirin. That ate a hole in my stomach. I started having stomach ulcers at 17 years old. Then I was put on ulcer medications. Fast forward to my third year at University of Iowa. I was in my third year of pre-med. I wanted to become a doctor. I wanted to help people. And what had happened is my academic advisor said, you should go see my chiropractor. And I thought, you're crazy. Why would I go see a chiropractor? And basically she says, listen, 99% of chiropractors work with neck pain and back pain, and they're pretty good with it. But 1% work with the healing power that God put inside your body. And so long story short, got rid of all those problems within 3 months, stopped taking all medications. Here I am 25 years later, still no meds in my body. Don't do it. Don't go. I don't live in fear for viruses. If you guys missed last week's class, we did a master class last week. I talked about how I don't live in fear, and we don't. In our house, we take care of ourselves, and I'm going to teach you guys how to be able to do that today. So without anything further, I'm going to get straight into the class because I got a lot of stuff that I'm going to go through with you guys today. So not play. There we go. So with that said, well, let's go back one. Okay. So here's the team. So just so you guys know, up there in the left-hand corner is the team. We got me on the left, my wife, Dr. Joelle, Michaela, Nani, and Keisha. Nani and Keisha are actually behind the scenes here answering questions for you guys today. And Michaela's on honeymoon / vacation and probably listening in, probably is going to respond to these as well. On the right-hand side there, you got my family. Yes, I have 4 girls. And so it's a lot of fun and it's a blast, but definitely pray for us and send money for weddings down the road too, in college as well. So a little bit about what's going to go on today. I don't know everything that there is about viruses. I have a feeling that we're going to get to the end of life. We're going to get to heaven, and we're going to find out that we knew very little about anything, that we knew a fraction of a fraction of a fraction about everything. I think we're going to get a year from now and we're going to look back, or maybe even 5 years from now, we're going to be like, what the heck were we thinking about this coronavirus thing and the lockdowns and the mask? What were we thinking? I have a feeling we're going to get to heaven and say, God's going to say, man, you guys had this thing completely wrong. But what I will tell you is in 25 years being in practice, or 25 years being in chiropractic and 21 years in being in practice, the one thing that I've learned is the principles that we're going to teach you guys through the series of Masterclass. And the things that I'm going to teach you, that we're going to teach you, is it all comes down to taking care of your body the way that God designed your body. That's what it ultimately comes down to. And so we're going to teach you about the 5 essentials of max living, what we do here at Family Healing Chiropractic to create health and healing from the inside. We got a saying on the radio show is that God needs no help, just no interference. And its truth is God doesn't need help. He just needs us to not screw it up along the way. Our purpose here at Family Healing Chiropractic is helping people find their calling and passion, their God-given potential, breaking change and changing family trees. So what does that mean? Well, for us, it's all about that family that comes in, or that person that comes in that's in severe pain or has problems, and they don't know, they can't do the things that they were designed for, or what they're able to do on a day-to-day basis. They can't pick up what they were supposed to pick up. They can't work. They can't sleep. They can't pick up their grandkids. You name it. They're not able to do the things that they were able to do. So our goal here is to help people rip them away from bondage of medicine and drugs and chemicals in their life and get their life back on track. So a little bit before I go forward here today is that if you guys have questions, if you're a guest here, just put it in the notes here below that I'm a guest. I'd like to come visit the office. Nani and Keisha will respond to you as well. Also, if you were here last week at the class, we talked about the drawing. We're going to do a drawing, and Keisha and Nani will put this in the notes in here too. We're going to do a drawing for a $100 gift certificate to the office and two $50 gift certificates. That's going to cover your supplies as far as nutraceuticals, nutrition and supplements and proteins and stuff like that. So they're going to take care of you guys through the raffle for that. So you get a ticket for attending the classes. You get a ticket for sharing this. You get a ticket for sharing this and doing a watch party with it. My goal for this is to reach thousands and thousands of people through this class, through you guys. As I'm talking today, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, my sister needs to hear this. My brother needs to hear this. And I don't care where they live. Forward the link to them. If you guys need a link to our YouTube page, some of you guys are watching this on YouTube, forward the link. We're going to give you the opportunity to be able to do that. The other announcement I have is this Saturday, if you're a patient in our office, this Saturday, we're going to be out of town and we're going to be in Columbia, South Carolina. We're going to be teaching, or we're actually going to be attending a class down there, a training. I say teaching because most of the time I teach these things, but this week I'm not going to be teaching, thank God. And so this year's been crazy. And I want to just let you guys know that it's with everything that's gone on around us with COVID and everything like that, it's exposed some holes in our day-to-day living. It's exposed holes in the media. It's exposed holes in our government. It's exposed holes in our healthcare system or lack thereof. So it's exposed a lot of holes these days. And so the whole goal of this class today is to actually teach you guys what the truth is about viruses. Some of you guys, and I shouldn't have to say this, but we have to say it, I guess, these days, that if you had somebody die from COVID, I'm sorry. I really am. I care a lot about people. I love people. And I hate the fact that people have to die. But we sinned. Adam and Eve sinned. And unfortunately, we don't live forever anymore. And so, and I don't mean that to sound like I'm being hard or being insensitive. I hope you guys don't misconstrue that. I want to let you guys know I'm going to speak truth. And I'm going to speak a lot about the science. And I'm going to talk a lot about comorbidities, and I'm going to talk about the things that make us unhealthy and that we do right now, that our bodies are not working the way that they're really designed to and how God designed it as well. So recap from last week. If you guys missed it, we went over a brief overview of the 5 essentials. We talked a lot about where all the control and the money. So like I said that this whole thing that we're in the middle of right now, one of my friends used the terminology is that it's been weaponized. COVID's been weaponized. And what they mean by that is that it's and somebody asked me this last week saying, hey, I love your information, but why does it have to be so political? It doesn't have to be political, but guess what? It does, because it is political. I've received a chart today about how liberal states have more deaths and more sickness than Republican states or conservative states. So there's a reality that there is a different reporting system that almost across the board, liberals will wear masks more than conservatives. It's just kind of weird how this thing has popped up as politicized. But if you look at it, this whole thing has changed hands. I heard somebody say the other day about how it's changed. The money in the world has changed hands. A massive wealth shift to the rich have gotten very, very rich. The Walmart people, the Sam's Club, Costco people, the Amazon people especially, there's been a huge money change here. And so the one thing that we taught last week, if you missed the class, you need to go back and watch it. But we talked about you can't control what's going on around us, but you can control what's going on in your life and your environment and your family. And that's as we move forward. I just want to make sure that you guys understand that is that I want to make sure that you and your family are equipped with the best case scenario that you possibly can be. And again, I said I don't want to politicize this thing, but here's a screenshot that I took from a friend's site this weekend, and it's from Fox. So sorry if you're not a Fox fan, but I thought this is pretty fascinating to me, and I want you guys to answer this in here. Is that it says flu cases are down 95%. So from last year to this year, in the same weeks, it was 1,251 cases down to 61 cases. And so, if you could, in the comment section there, why would you guys think there's such a huge drop in the numbers there? And so, either answer that out loud with whoever you're watching this with, or answer it on the comment section. Why do you think there'd be such a drastic drop in these numbers here? So my answer for this is not where did the flu cases go, because the people still more than likely had stuff and problems going on, but they're being classified as somebody's saying, as COVID or something else. See, not only have the flu cases gone down, but pneumonia cases have gone down. Relatively, our mortality rate across the whole country has actually gone down a little bit over the course of this year from last year and the year previous to that. So less people are dying this year than have died in the last 2 years. Comparatively speaking, it goes up gradually or stays about the same every single year. I don't have the graphic here. It's on my Facebook page if you guys want to go catch it, but I posted it somewhere. But the reality is on this is that our mortality rate has gone down, but yet we're in the midst of this pandemic. We're in the midst of this problem, but yet where are these cases going for? And so now then the next question I want to ask you guys is that why are they pushing the flu shot so much right now? And if you guys are watching the news and the media and that kind of stuff, why is it that people why are they pushing the flu shots? Not only that, why are at CVS are they giving away free shots? Not only that, why are they giving away not just free shots, but why are they giving you gift certificates to be able to go to these things? And so that's what floors me more than anything else, is that why are these things happening along the way? So a lot of these things, what's happening is it's being called COVID, because if you have a COVID diagnosis, that seems to be superseding everything else. And so, and then my next question is, why do you guys think the states, especially ours, North Carolina, why are they freaking out about the number of positives that have gone up, even though death rates have gone down? And so where are they getting their numbers from that the numbers are going up? And I just had somebody in here a little bit ago, and he says, well, at my work, they're testing everybody every single day. Well, do you think that would mean that there'd be more positive tests? Yeah. And I'll get into positive tests and actually being infected with COVID here in a little bit. We'll talk about that. And so again, each week I want to make you guys think a little bit more and start to understand what's going on. This is hard to see. I posted this on my regular Facebook site as well. So if you guys want to go look it up, it's there. But here's a research study that came out by the CDC. And so it said basically that those who got sick with SARS, they did a study of 300 plus people. And of that 300 plus people, and I actually was asking this question last week. I said, man, we've been wearing masks long enough. Why don't they find out who wears a mask and who doesn't wear a mask and who's getting infected, who's getting sick? And when they started looking at these numbers, the one thing that was super flooring to them was that they found out that 70% of those that were tested and were positive in this study, 70% of them wore a mask always, okay? And so the majority of people, I think it was almost like 90%, wore a mask always or most of the time. And so the ones that never wore a mask, only 3.9% of the people that never wore a mask of this whole study, the 300 people, only 3.5 or 3.9% of them never wore a mask. So what's that tell you is it should tell you that not wearing a mask actually didn't cause infections. And so almost to the point where if you start to look at the numbers of this thing, that means, man, almost we should be mandating to not wear a mask at all. And I don't know if you guys saw that in a whole nother article, and I didn't put this one in here, but there was an article that came out a few weeks ago about 94% of those that had COVID deaths, again, not to be insensitive to those people that died, okay? But that's a real death, and I'm sorry for that if you lost a family member. It sucks, I get it. And so, but 94% of those people that died of COVID or with COVID, 94% of them had at least, on average, 2.5 comorbidities, which means they had other issues, other problems. And even though that's the case, we still have shutdowns, we still have masking, we still have this whispers of vaccines coming, but nobody's talking about like what the real cause of this problem is. It's kind of fascinating to me how we're this far into this thing and nobody's talking about real solutions. And like the grown-ups in the room are not talking about real solutions about where this thing comes from. And some of you guys were at this class. We did a germ theory class. Gosh, I did it, I think maybe 3 months ago or something like that. In the class, I talked about the difference between the germ theory versus the terrain theory. There's two different theories that were started back in the 1850s. And 1850, Louis Pasteur came up with this thing called the germ theory. And we're sitting basically where we are right now because of the germ theory. because basically what Louis Pasteur said is he said that microbials are the cause of all disease, is essentially what the germ theory said. So microbials meant things like bacteria, things like viruses, things like parasites. And basically what he said is that these bugs are the cause of all disease. And the reality of it, though, is, and let me ask you guys this again, I'm going to pause a little bit and discuss this if you're watching it with somebody, or put it in the comments here. Why is it that, or actually, let me back up. If you guys can poke a hole in the germ theory so that, let me back up again. Louis Pasteur said basically that these doctors that are delivering babies, they were using the same coat, and the more blood that they had on their coats, the more of a badge of honor it really was. And the reality was he was passing disease from mom to mom in the maternity wards. But what he said, so there is a certain level of, hey, look, germs are a real thing, right? I mean, there is bacteria, there is coronavirus, there are viruses, there are these things. But the reality is that we've created over the course of the last 170 years, this whole medical basis is based on that you're weak and germs are strong. Germs are strong and can kill you. They're scary. They're bugs. They can jump on you. They can do all this stuff. The reality is, though, and you guys know this as you poke holes in the germ theory, is why is it then that two people, brother and sister, one gets sick and the other one doesn't? Why does that even happen? And so you start to kind of dive into this thing. And what Louis Pasteur said on his deathbed is he said, I wish I could go back and change what I said. Basically, he said that, he goes, it's not about the germ. He says, basically, it's about the host. It's about, if you could say the word is terrain. It's about the terrain. And so if your body's healthy, if your body's strong, then when two kids are exposed to the same germs, one gets sick, one doesn't. It's the one that has the stronger terrain or the stronger health from within inside the body. That's what it really comes down to. And so one of my mentors, one of the guys that started chiropractic, D.D. Palmer in Davenport, Iowa, back in 1895, he said this quote, and this is basically what chiropractic is all about, is that I desired to know why one person was ailing and his associate eating at the same table, working at the same shop, at the same bench was not. Why? What was the difference in these two persons that caused one to have various diseases while his partner escaped it? And so if you start to kind of like dive into that, this is why chiropractors at its core, now not all chiropractors are this way. We've actually, a small percentage of chiropractors actually still look for the cause of disease. A lot of chiropractors have fallen into the medical model, which dives into more of treating people for symptoms because it's more accepted by insurance. It's more accepted by the mainstream media. It's more accepted by the mainstream clients, I guess, patients that would come in, is what it basically says, is that D.D. Palmer said, basically, why is it that one gets sick and one doesn't? Well, it's kind of funny is that he talked about, it's not about the microbe, but it's about the strength of the host. And they coined the term that God doesn't need help. And if you guys have heard me on the radio show before, I talk about this. My tagline on there is that God doesn't need help. He just needs no interference. He doesn't need our help. He just needs us to not screw it up. So if we support the host, then now microbials, germs, viruses, things can't affect you or don't affect you the way they do as if you had a weakened body. Well, his son came along and said this later. He said, if the germ theory of disease were correct, there'd be nobody living to believe it. Think about that. If the germ theory, which it states, is that germs are the cause of all disease. And so if it were true, then there'd be nobody left to actually do this. And it's kind of funny. You guys saw the doctors in the white coats. You saw the guys, the two doctors out in California that came out very early, Dr. Erickson, that spoke out against the virus and spoke out against the vaccines and spoke out about how they're doing the treatments and everything like that, and how they were taking care of these people. Then you saw the white coat doctors come up. Then you saw a couple chiropractors with very loud voices that were all over the internet. And you saw all these people talking about the supporting the host. Like, if you actually look at the principle of where health and healing comes from, it's all about the host. And when these doctors come forward and when they speak out, the problem is they're immediately being shut down. And the Facebook police, the YouTube police, the Instagram police, everybody else, all they're trying to do is they're trying to censor. This is censorship at its worst. I mean, we live in America, and it is a disaster what's happening right now with censorship. If it goes against mainstream media, if it goes against the American Medical Association and drugs and chemicals and shots and you're weak and germ theory is right, if it goes against all those things, these people are being shut down consistently across the bases, and they're being destroyed. Some people's careers are being destroyed of these things. And these doctors, when they speak out against the medical establishment, the mainstream media, and that coronavirus is not that big of a deal, they get destroyed for these things because it goes completely against what the agenda they're trying to push right now. And so, and one of the crazy things is we had a seminar recently. We had 500 people there, 500 docs, and all these doctors, chiropractors see thousands of people a month. And they've seen thousands of people. And when you ask across the group, how many of the doctors have had COVID, very few of them, if any, have had COVID. Not to mention, on top of that, how many of their patients, it's such a small percentage. Even in our office, in this office that you see me in right now, we've seen about 18,000 people since the beginning of COVID. And my team's been here the whole time. Talk about frontline heroes, right? Like, these people have been here since the beginning, even though they're telling us that the coronavirus is the worst thing in the whole wide world. They're like, we still need to help people take care of their bodies. And so they've been here every day since then. And you know what? We've seen 4 cases of people that have come to us after the fact. They stayed home until the coronavirus is over. They come in, or I go adjust them at their house when they're sick so that they don't expose everybody else. And I'll go adjust them at their house. I adjusted many people at their house during this time, people that are even more patients. I even adjusted a medical doctor during this time at his house because he's got COVID. And I asked his wife, does he want me to come adjust him? And he's like, do you think it'd help? And I'm like, does he know anything about anatomy? Of course it's going to help. Because a cleared nerve system allows your body, and I'll get more into that in a little bit. But again, this germ theory thing that we're wrapped our heads around is destroying us. And so what it really comes down to is that it comes down to your immune system. And I almost don't even like the immune system because the immune system is almost a medical terminology too. But what I like to call the immune system is it's the adaptability of your body. How well or how quickly can your body adapt to foreign invaders? Whether it's chemicals, whether it's toxicity, whether it's falls, slips, stress on computers, whether it's emotional stress, physical stress, chemical stress, that how fast can your body respond to this or how fast can it adapt? How adaptive is it? So I'm going to talk a lot about the adaptability of the body along the way. So the biggest way to destroy the adaptability of your body or the immune system is there's 2 things. Number one is put so much stress in your nerve system, number one. But number 2, destroy the gut. And this is one of the things that we're doing consistently on a regular basis in our world right now is we are destroying the gut. The gut houses 70% of your immune system, or the adaptability of your body is through the gut. Now, how are we destroying it? A lot of ways. The chemicals that we're spraying on our plants, the glyphosate, Roundup, all this stuff, the chemicals that are in our food. There's also rounds of antibiotics. I mean, how many rounds of antibiotics have you been put on in your life? Most of us have been put on multiple rounds. And the reason why, and I actually even wrote or read something today, a quote that said, if you have 2 rounds of antibiotics in 1 year, there's a 50% higher chance that you're going to have depression at some point in time in this year. Why? Because it destroys the normal gut flora, the bacteria, the microbiome, everything that needs to be in the body is destroyed when you throw antibiotics. It disrupts the things that are in your body system, how it learned. Now, understand something too, and I don't know if you guys know this, but when you have a natural childbirth, that your microbiome, the bacteria in your body that is living and breathing, actually affects, and it helps us. We need to have a good digestive system with good bacteria in it. And there's bad bacteria in it as well. But you pass that on to your family, to your kids when you go through this process along the way too. So there's stuff that's passed down through this along the way as well. So we've got to make sure that the gut is clean. We got to make sure that your food source is coming from the right aspect of it. So the gut and the nerve system are keys when it comes to the immune system. I do want to talk about this guy pretty quickly. And so it's probably not going to be that quick, but because I've been fascinated with this. He actually did an interview with Dr. Patrick Gentempo, which is one of my mentors, and Vaccine Revealed. And it's 36 minutes. It's fascinating. It's amazing. I'm not going to play it for you guys, but this doctor, he actually is brilliant. Don't think he's a Christian, but he talks a lot about Mother Earth, talks about a lot of stuff that's out there. But one of the things that I heard him say, and I want you guys to think about this, is that viruses are not alive. See, most people think viruses are alive. Viruses are not bugs that jump on you when you're jogging by somebody. Viruses are not something that will see you in the grocery store if you're not wearing a mask and jump on you. Viruses are not alive. Bacteria is alive. Parasites are alive. But viruses, they actually need a system. They need humans or animals. They need living things or plants. They need living things to continue to survive. And so one of the things that I want to help you guys understand is that bacteria, viruses, microbials, parasites, these things are all necessary for the balance of our world. This is what Zach Bush, Dr. Zach talks about. It's necessary for the environment. In fact, it's so necessary that our lives are super dependent on these things. They need to be there. And so let me give you the example. If you take the rainforest and completely deplete the rainforest and take it off this planet, what happens to us? We die. If you take bacteria completely off this planet, what happens to us? We die. If you take viruses off this planet, guess what happens to us? We die. And so what happens is the video working for you guys? My wife said the video's out.
No.
Somebody tag in there if you guys can see the video. My wife's texting me. Stop texting me. Maybe it's your video, wife, Dr. Joelle. So is you guys' video, Nani's working? Okay, everybody's working. If it's not working, text us, let us know. But it seems to be going okay. Somebody text my wife and let her know it's still going. So if you take the viruses off this planet, we die. Now watch what happens though. If you take us off this planet, guess what happens to the rainforest? It flourishes. Bacteria flourishes. And also what else flourishes? Everything that's on this planet flourishes. See, the thing is that God doesn't make junk. One of my good friends has it all over his stuff. And he says, listen, he goes, God doesn't make junk. He doesn't make junk. See, the thing is that there was no death, there was no destruction until we sinned. That was the issue. We sinned. And so when we sin, that's where the issue comes in. And when we say in our radio program is God doesn't need help, just no interference. So we're the interferers. Humans are the interference along the way. And so what I want to tell you guys real quick, what Zach talked about here, Dr. Zach, he says viruses, this virus in particular, was never going to wipe us out. What viruses are is they give, we need viruses on our planet to give updates to our body. Our bodies communicate with the earth. And again, remember, I told you he's really out there, but viruses are actually there for a reason. Bacteria is actually there for a reason. They're to give us updates with our body to allow us to know what's going on around our environment. In fact, viruses and bacteria are necessary for our bodies to improve and to get better and to get stronger. And eventually, after generations, cancer will eventually be gone because of viruses and bacteria. And I know it's out there, but here's what I want you guys to understand, is that he says that the amount of viruses that are in our soil are 10 to the 30th power. The amount of viruses in the oceans are 10 to the 31st power. The amount of viruses that are in the air, even in this room right now on our planet, is 10 to the 31st power. And to put that number in perspective, you got to understand, in order to put that number in perspective, you got to take all the stars in the universe and take all the known universes that we know about, add up all the stars, and then multiply it by 10 million. And then that gives you almost the number that you can think about the amount of viruses that are around us constantly. And remember, viruses are not living, but what viruses do is they plug in information into your RNA and DNA, and they teach your body how to adapt and how to become better than it was before. Think of it like a software update for your phone. So you take your phone and think about a software update that you do with your phone to make it better. Sometimes it makes it worse. But with viruses, they're given genetic code updates to our body, teaching us what's going on in the world. They're necessary. It's supposed to be there. In fact, viruses don't cause sickness and disease, but what viruses do is they actually expose toxicity or problems in the environment or problems within the body and the cells. So viruses don't cause sickness and disease, but what viruses do is they're almost our friend, where they're exposing problems from the inside. Now, I want you guys to think about that for a second. If that's the case, if viruses are there to expose what's already wrong with the body, right? Or what's wrong with the environment. Think about like the main places that had issues or problems, right? Where were what places had the major problems? Well, Wuhan province was one of them. And the reason why is because they have more farmland and they spray all kinds of glyphosate and chemicals all over the place. And they have so many chemicals and pollution's horrible. And that's one of the reasons why that was one of the main areas. What about Italy? Same thing, pollution, all kinds of problems. What about the US? Again, yes, populated cities for sure. But not only that, this is exposing the truth that we are one of the sickest countries on the planet when it comes to industrialized nations. We are very ill. I read today that 125 million people are diabetic or pre-diabetic out of what, 375 million? I mean, think about that. We have almost a third of our country is diabetic or pre-diabetic. So no wonder this is hitting us so hard, because we have all these pre-existing conditions. And so what happens is that if we start to Purell everything and start to put masks on everything, and we start to create all these vaccines, and we try to live in this sterile environment, we're only destroying ourselves. What they should have done from the beginning of this, and the people that spoke out about this, they were the ones that got their legs taken out. What should have happened from the beginning of this is there should have been isolation of those that have the pre-existing conditions. They should have been isolated. Everybody else should be out in public without masks, without gloves, and we should be interacting with each other like we're supposed to. Like God designed us to be out here with the I keep saying vaccine, with the viruses, with the bacteria, but God also put us out there to be coexisting with other people too. Like when you isolate us, or you isolate us from viruses, isolate us from bacteria, you isolate us from people, there's going to be bigger consequences to this on the backside. And that's what, go check him out. Dr. Zach Bush, he's talking about this all over the place. And of course, he's going to have his legs taken out for saying this too. He's way smarter than me. And again, I don't know that much about this stuff, but man, it's fascinating when you start to understand and realize that the healthy, quote unquote, healthy people, the asymptomatic people should be out here and getting these viral updates, exposed to these viruses, so our bodies can learn how to become stronger. And that would actually protect those people that are weaker and that have problems. And again, not a popular thing out there, but remember, viruses, they're not alive. They're fragments of DNA and RNA. They're proteins. They plug in, they update. They require other cells to produce. And again, along the way, that the viruses are everywhere. There's no escaping it. There's no escaping it. There's the mask article I just read to you guys about how people wearing masks aren't getting this thing. What if the body's missing this virus? What if your body needs exposure to this virus, or to the other virus that you're trying to protect yourself to, which we're going to find out, and you already saw in that research article, the masks aren't protecting you from viruses. Those people are still getting sick, still getting infected with COVID. So what's happening is, what if your body's missing something because you're isolating yourself, and now we're going to have massive consequences of cancers, heart disease, or diabetes, or other things down the road, because we're not living according to God's design. And we're not living that way right now. And so basically what happens is that long term, we're creating more issues. And I hear this all the time, but I'm wearing the mask because I can't see my grandparents, I can't see my parents, or I'm wearing the mask because I can't go see my grandbaby. You might be causing them more harm by not being exposed to this from the get-go. Back in the day, some of you guys still remember this, that they used to have parties for chickenpox. Why? Because it was important for you to be exposed to it when you're younger, because you could fight it, or when you're healthier, and you don't want to get it when you're older. And they kept people, this is essentially what they should have done with this. At something that has a lower death rate than the flu, that actually has a lower infective rate than flu. The only reason why it's off the charts right now and our governor's trying to shut down our state again is because they're testing more. Imagine if they tested people for what they're testing people for COVID right now. If they tested that for flu every single year, we'd be off the charts. We'd be flipping out. Nobody would ever leave their house. But they created this testing, and now because of that, we're in this situation right now where people have spoken about it long enough, hard enough, and basically what's happened is we've believed it. If somebody tells a lie enough, you're eventually gonna believe it along the way. Coronavirus has been around. Coronavirus and the family of coronaviruses have been around for over 700 years. The viruses, they are identified by the area of the body or the organ that it attaches to. And so the family of coronaviruses are given that name because of what they do and what areas of the body, like SARS and MERS and SARS-CoV-2. These things are all put there because they're diagnosed or labeled as the area of the body that they actually go into. Remember, viruses are not alive, but the proteins that they attach to and they upgrade the RNA and DNA, they will cause symptoms, especially in a toxic person. So if somebody's super healthy, guess what? Most of us have probably been exposed to coronavirus already. And the fact of the matter is that wherever the symptoms come up is where they label these things as. That's why you're seeing flu down so much, because if they'd had the same test for coronavirus as last year, they would have found fragments of coronavirus last year. I know they say it's novel, it's brand new, but it's not. It's been around forever. And I know you're going to say, well, but it was made in a laboratory and all this kind of stuff and all the conspiracy theories about that and everything. I believe that they can modify these things. I believe that they can put things that will speed these things up and get these things out there more, but there's still a virus at the end of the day. It's still a non-living thing. And so viruses do not cause symptoms. It's the exposure. They expose unhealthy people, unhealthy environments around it. And see, the key is that, think about it this way, is that when a first-year teacher, if you're a teacher out there, thank you for being a teacher. I can't imagine what you guys have gone through this last year. It's been crazy for you guys. I got a brother and sister-in-law that are teachers. I know a lot of teachers that come into the office. But teachers, when you go out your first year, what always happens to the first-year teachers? They get sick all the time. Why? Because they're exposed to all these little dirty rugrats. It's not true. That's what people say, right? But they're exposed to all these things along the way. What happens is that they're exposed to all these different viruses and all these different bacteria, and they get sick a lot, and their body's immune system, then eventually by the time that they're 5 or 10 years in, like their immune systems are so strong. Same thing with oh gosh, what's the name of it, Nani? The people that watch kids, daycares. I don't know why that just blanked to me. So daycare workers too, same thing. I worked at a daycare when I was in college and I got sick all the time. After about 6 months though, I stopped getting sick and nobody could get me sick. And so the reason why our numbers are off the charts is tests have gone out and they're testing for fragments of coronavirus. And when they find it, guess what happens? It doesn't mean that you're infected. It means you have coronavirus on you. In order to spread it, you have to be infected with it. Let me say that again. In order to spread it, you have to be infected with it. Just because it's on your body, if it's on your palm or if it's in your nose, that does not mean that you're infected with it. And that means it might mean that you have it on you. It might mean that it's around you, but it doesn't mean that you're infected with it. In order to spread it, you have to be infected with it. That's why, like Fauci said at the beginning, which has totally been a disaster. Here's my prediction though. Dr. Fauci is going to get Time Man of the Year, and it's going to be disgusting when it happens. He's going to be on the covers and everybody's going to be like, what the heck just happened here? But he is the media darling. He is the whole side of that argument that wants to shut things down. This is the guy. But at the beginning of this, what did he say? He said that we should not, for viruses, there is no such thing as asymptomatic carriers. But now they've backtracked on that because they're trying to shut people down and they're trying to control people. They're trying to affect the election. They're trying to affect the AMA. They're trying to affect the vaccines. They're trying to affect everything here. And so it's a complete disaster what's going on around this. But the reality is that testing has been done at such high rates right now. Of course, there's going to be more. Again, but coronavirus, it's the novel virus, right? It doesn't matter to the body. Remember I said there's 10 to the 31st power amount of viruses. So don't you think that God knew that this coronavirus is going to be here in 2020? I mean, God knew and made all the viruses, all the bacteria, all these things are supposed to be there. They're actually there for a reason. I know some of you guys, it's going to be a stretch for you guys to think and understand that, but gnaw on it for a little bit. Maybe it's a little offensive to you. Maybe you're kind of like, I don't get that. Okay, I'm okay with that. But what if God put viruses down there to affect and to improve our bodies along the way? When something comes in, an intruder, if somebody that I don't know is in my house when I get home, it's a human being, let's say it's a man, somebody I've never seen before, I still know that guy doesn't belong there. Even though my body maybe has never been exposed to this SARS-2 COVID, whatever they're calling it, or whatever scary name they want to give it, my body still knows it's an intruder. And my body still knows to do it with all intruders. You give me any of those 10 to 31 to the 31st place viruses into my body will know that it's an intruder and will be able to respond and react along the way. So what happens is again, back to comorbidities and viruses though. Remember these things were the reason why. Now, I want you guys to understand something. You don't get cancer, heart disease, diabetes because you're healthy. You don't get obesity because you're healthy. You don't get depression and anxiety because your body's healthy and your hormones are healthy. You don't get these things because you're healthy. You get these things because your body's unhealthy, or it's not, like I like to say in my office, it's not functioning at the level that it should and supposed to. If your body's not functioning at the level that it's supposed to, then what happens is that it opens up doorways for sickness and disease to come in and to cause issues. So when you have a collective amount of symptoms of sickness and disease, a certain subset of symptoms will be called cancer. Another certain subset of symptoms, like high cholesterol and high blood pressure, might be called heart disease or congestive heart failure. So you can start to see how this kind of builds up, is that people don't die from a virus. In fact, they don't even really die from cancer, heart disease, or diabetes. Those are just the diagnosis that men and women, doctors and druggists and pharmaceutical industry, those are the names that we give things so we can give a drug for something. And so what the reality is when you have a conglomeration of symptoms, when you have a group of symptoms, what that means is that your body's unhealthy at its core. Something's wrong with it. And so what you should work on is the host and getting strong and healthy from the inside. See, viruses didn't kill people during this time. And I had somebody say to me a little bit ago on the table, she's like, yeah, but maybe they would have died 10 years down the road had they not been exposed to coronavirus. I'm like, okay, but coronavirus is not more lethal than any other virus that's been exposed. All it's doing is the way that it's attaching, just like pneumonia would to the lungs, it's exposing the environment, the toxicities that we have in our environment, in our soil, in our food source. It's exposing chemicals and toxicities that are inside of our bodies already. That's the problem. And so these things, these comorbidities and viruses, they coexist because the body's sick and unhealthy from the inside. Okay. So, I missed one here. I missed a slide. Anyway. Okay. So here's what I want to talk to you guys about is that, and I'm going to just have to tell you guys about this because I missed the slide altogether when I put it in, that you have an army inside of you. The immune system has specialized cells that perform different functions within inside the body. White blood cells patrol the blood looking for things that don't belong. Like I said, if I have an intruder in my house, I know that guy doesn't belong, right? There's T cells. T cells are cytotoxic cells that destroy infected, damaged cells along the way. They're the first line of defense. And so if there's an intruder, even a novel virus, right, the T cells know how to do this, to get after this thing. There's B cells. They produce antibodies. It's basically memory. It reminds the body of, oh, I've seen this before. I can get rid of this thing. And then, of course, you have natural killer cells. And these are advanced cells that kill more difficult pathogens and problems along the way. That's what these cells are for. Now, here's what's fascinating to me is that they've done tons of research on chiropractic adjustments and the amount of increase in CD4 cells in HIV patients, T cells, natural killer cells. In fact, I have a buddy of mine up in New Jersey, and he has clinics. He has the ability in a chiropractic office to test or check blood. And he was actually adjusting people and then checking, and they saw increases in the T cells, increases in the natural killer cells after an adjustment, like minutes after. They would do blood draws and they would do testing before and testing afterwards, and they would see the increase with adjustments. Even 100 years ago, BJ Palmer in Davenport, Iowa was doing this at his clinic, and he was showing how there was massive increases in the natural immune system of the human body after an adjustment. Well, my buddy up in New Jersey, as he started posting this stuff, real patients with real numbers, he got shut down. He went to Facebook police. They shut him down, and guess why they shut him down? It didn't go with the narrative. It didn't go with what they were trying to say along the way. So what the goal is and what the answer for this is we need to teach you guys how to build a fearless immune system. If you guys have questions, ask them in here. I'll answer some of them later if I can't answer them now. I just taking a pause because I was speaking really fast. And I want to pause for a second. I'm going to give you guys some solutions now. How do we build a fearless immune system? Also, if you guys are enjoying what you're seeing, then what you have to do is go send this to somebody. When you get off this, tag them in the comments down below, or take the YouTube link that you have, send it off to your friends. This is a great way to get this message out. People need to hear and see this stuff along the way. So how do we build a fearless immune system? Stop looking outside of yourself and start looking inside. I have 2 rules for COVID. If you want to survive COVID, take this to the bank. Number 1, don't get tested. Okay. Number 2, don't watch the media. If you can do those two things, you wouldn't even have an idea that this was going on right now, and there would be no issues, there would be no shutdowns, there would be no lockdowns, nothing. And yes, would people have died? Yes, but we probably would have labeled them as flu because it would have had the similar type of symptoms as flu, and we would have never tested for anything else. And the numbers, remember, the mortality rates have gone down. So nobody would be reporting anything right now had we just thought this was the flu and nobody watched the media along the way. So again, how do we fix things? You can't worry about anybody else. You got to worry about yourself. Now, you can help other people, and I want you to help other people, but you have to understand how to take care of yourself. So we want to clean up the environment inside and out. And so God didn't forget to put a mask on you. He didn't forget to put the chemicals in the vaccine in you. God did not forget to isolate you from everybody else. That's not what he wants. In fact, those things are all unnatural. Those are not the way that God designed it. If you want to live a full, abundant life the way that we're supposed to, again, this was a period of time. They locked it down. You were supposed to mask for 2 weeks so we could flatten the curve and everything was going to be good. But here we are 7 months later, and now we've created unhealthy relationships. There's more suicide. I know 2 people personally that have committed suicide in the last 6 months. There's more suicides than there are COVID deaths. Let that sink in. How come nobody's reporting that? There's more suicides in our country this year than there are COVID deaths. Why is nobody reporting that? And the suicide rates have gone up. Depression's gone up. This stuff's gone up, but yet we're not talking about this. Why? Because again, it doesn't fit the agenda along the way. I'm going to go quick here because the next 4 weeks, we're going to dive into the 5 essentials. We're going to dive into the nerve system, the mindset. We're going to dive into nutrition and exercise and detox. We're going to dive into these things the next 4 weeks. And so make sure every week, Monday, we're going to be right here. Send the links out to people. Take care. You can find people this way. You can help people this way. But here's the 5 essentials. Again, it comes back down to taking care of the body the way that God designed it. So from a chiropractic standpoint, people don't understand. A lot of you guys out there, if you're a guest here, you don't even realize that chiropractic is more than neck pain and back pain. In fact, all we're doing is we're trying to remove interference to allow your body to be able to work the way that it's designed to work. Now, what happens is we're exposed to massive amounts of stress these days, stress that our bodies were not used to 50 years ago. We work on computers, we sit at desks, we're on phones constantly, we're constantly bending over. We have physical stress, we have emotional stress, and we're being exposed to massive amounts of chemical stress. Our body's adaptability is actually stressed out or diminished because the spine will move out of its position because of the stress that comes in. When it does that, it disrupts how the brain and spinal cord can communicate. And then that puts further stress on the organs, cells, and tissues because it's trying to protect itself though. So what our job is, again, is to remove the interference and allow the body to go through its process. Now, I know some of you guys think all chiropractic's created the same, but it's not. There's structural care and there's symptomatic care. Symptomatic care is no different than medical care. All it is adjusting people for aches and pains. And don't get me wrong, I get people that come into us from the beginning like that. But we're talking about structural care, actual correcting the subluxation, the stress from the inside, removing it and allowing the body to go through a healing process. And it will heal things that you don't even know. Behind me here is our office. The tables are back there. Everything's back there. I wish I could take you on a tour of this, but for time's sake, I'm not going to. But what I love about this is I had a guy come in the other day. He came in because he had a little bit of back pain. He came with his wife because she had cancer, and he really wanted to do this together with her. And so we started adjusting him, and he went to his doctor, and his doctor said, okay, it's time. You can come off your cholesterol meds. His labs were better. Little did the doctor know that he'd been off his cholesterol meds for a while already. And so it's kind of funny. So we talked about it. He goes, my doctor said, hey, look, you've changed your lifestyle, but you still have the genetic component. So we need to keep watching your cholesterol. And I said to him, I said, listen, I go, don't believe this genetic thing for 1 second. Is that there's this thing called epigenetics. Epigenetics turns on and turns off genes. That things like heart disease, cancer, diabetes, obesity, these are not things that you catch. These are things that you actually lifestyle yourself into and out of. And so you can lifestyle yourself into this thing just as much as you can lifestyle yourself out of these things along the way. So there's a big difference. Not all chiropractors are created equal. If you want symptomatic care, Great. There's this place called The Joint that's popped up all over the place. They do like $29 or $39 adjustments, and they'll adjust you a few times, no x-rays, no nothing. And so the reality is, though, if you just go get a couple adjustments like that, you're not fixing the actual structural component of these things. If you want to actually get healthy from the inside, you've got to remove the interference and find a way to keep that interference out of there. Nutrition. So part of our 5 S's is nutrition. The foods that you put in your mouth are a big deal. That they're everything. In fact, infections, sugar equals immune system damage. And seconds after you put sugar in your body, it destroys your immune system. It starts to shoot it down already with just even 1 ounce of sugar that goes into your mouth. Now, here's what I want you guys to understand is that growing up, sorry, Mom, if you're listening, what happens is growing up, most of us, when we had a sickness or flu or something like that, what was the first thing that we were given? I was given 7 saltine crackers. In fact, still to this day, when I don't feel good, which doesn't happen very often, I ask my wife to go get 7-Up and saltines, and she looks at me and says, "You're an idiot," and then she doesn't go get it for me. And so, but that's what I've been taught. So guess what? Saltines and 7-Up are sugar, pure sugar. And so antibiotics. So now think about this. We're given this sugar, or we destroy. Remember we said at the beginning, 70% of your gut is your immune system. So we need our immune system more than ever when we're sick. But then we put sugar in our body that destroys the good bacteria and raises up the bad bacteria. And then we also get antibiotics, which antibiotics destroys our gut bacteria, and it causes more stress. So we take short-term relief for long-term issues. Short-term relief for long-term issues. And so that's why we want to make sure that we're putting the right foods in our body. Again, Max Living Core Plan, I'm going to go through a whole class where we go in depth. There'll be more on this later, but the core plan, it's in your books if you're a patient. If you want more information, talk to Keisha, Nani, Michaela. They'll help you out with the Max Living Core Plan. The core plan's a little bit more relaxed. It's more food by God. You can have more fruits and vegetables on it. The Max Living Advanced Plan is more if you have cancer, heart disease, diabetes, you need to pull all sugars out of your body and repair the cells and the cell walls. You need to pull sugars out of your body, so you take some of the fruits out, decrease some of the sugars along the way, and start to really watch. Where on the core plan, you can do some more ancient grains and sprouted grains, where on the Max Living Advanced Plan, you're really taking out all grains because you need your body to go through a healing process along the way. So more on that later. Oxygen and exercise, same thing. We're going to have a whole class on movement, and we're going to talk more about oxygen and exercise along the way. Exercise may help reduce illness risk by over 40%. By over 40% exercise. Now, here's one of the things I want you guys to understand is that when you breathe, when you're exercising and you breathe heavy, you're constantly, one of your major detox organs is your lungs. So sweating and breathing heavy are major detox organs that are inside your body. They're there for a reason. Well, what's one of the things that we're doing right now that's destroying the amount that we're breathing and getting rid of stuff out of our lungs? We're getting rid of toxins out of our breath, but a lot of us are still, for whatever reason, still wearing these masks around. And I don't know when's when. Like the Governor Cooper, when's when? Like when is the time? It's been 7 months now. When's when? The research shows that people with masks on are infected more than people that don't wear masks. So when's when? And why is that even happening? And so when is when? This oxygen mask, not only does it, okay, let's say it prevents you from spitting on people, but what it also does is it prevents you from getting rid of the toxins that are in your lungs and trying to get rid of it. So it affects those things along the way. So exercise is big. You need movement, you need to move, and you need to breathe heavy. Minimizing toxins. Toxins are everywhere. And we've never been exposed more to toxins than what we are right now. Why? Well, they're throwing antibacterial soap all over us. They're spraying stuff. You have to have the highest of chemicals on your tables to spray it, on your doorknobs. You wear rubber gloves. When you go to the car, when you go get your car washed, I drove away from Auto Bell the other day because I was going to get my car washed, and this lady comes out with this like huge fogger, and I'm like, "What is that?" And she's like, "Oh, we've got to do this if you want us in your car to clean it." I'm like, "No." I go, "You guys use enough chemicals already. I don't need another set of chemicals in there." And she's like, "Oh, no, it's perfectly healthy and safe." I'm like, no, it's not. These are cancer-causing agents. These are things that are antivirals, antibacterials. It's not good. It's not healthy. It's never has been, and it's never going to be healthy along the way. Check what you're cleaning your stuff with. Are you cleaning your house with toxic chemicals? And for our house, we use this thing called Norwex. It's these rags that my wife can give you more information about it if you guys have questions about it along the way. You won't find it in stores. It's like through that dealer's multi-level marketing stuff, but that's what we use. We also use this thing called Force of Nature in the office here. It's these little packets that you add to water, and you put something in, you put it through this electricity thing, and it does this whole fancy thing, wizard stuff, and makes magic stuff spray that you can spray everywhere. And so it's a good cleaner that doesn't have chemicals or toxicities in it. So you've got to start watching your cleaners, what you're cleaning and we're going to have a whole class on this as well. So I'm not going to touch on it too much here. And then last but not least is of course, mindset. One of the things I talk about all the time is, again, if you want to survive COVID, here's your two things. Number one, don't watch the news. Number two, don't get tested. There's too many false positives, too many false negatives. If you're told that you have positive and you don't really you're not infected with COVID, that does a whole mind thing on you as well, and everybody that you're around as well on top of it. And so one of the things I talk about with mindset is every single day is a battle for your mind. My kids, hopefully they're watching right now. I say this to them too often. I think they get tired of it. All my clients, all my chiropractors, all my doctors all over the country, every day is a battle for your mind. From the moment that your alarm goes off, actually, I like it even better, from the time that you lay your head down the night before. If you don't plan on what's going to go in your mind the next morning, then whatever wants to go in your mind, or whatever the enemy wants to put in your mind, whatever your phone wants to put in your mind, whatever the media wants to put in your mind, it's going to put in your mind. So plan for the next morning, that every day is a battle for your mind, and start it off right and doing the things that are right, instead of letting other things influence what you do and how you do it. Stress, about 55% of Americans say that they undergo stress during the day, every single day. So again, we're going to have a whole class on this thing. But like I said, two doses of antibiotics in a year's time will increase depression by 50%. So why is that? Well, we'll go into the details of that later on, but it destroys your gut. Your gut is connected to your brain. That is a big deal. It's connected to your serotonin and your dopamine. So there's so many pieces of this. Stress is a massive thing right now. It's everywhere, especially if you watch the news, if you watch anything that comes down to, the election cycle right now. It is disgusting. The gloves are off. The Senate race around here, I mean, it is just bad for your brain. And so you need to get away from this stuff. You need to get into truth. The ways that we solve this is prayer, waking up in the morning, gratitude, reading the Bible, meditation, being around people that you love, that you enjoy being around, that lift you up, reading truth, reading things, being around things that lift you up and not break you down. And so the last piece of this is immune supporting nutrients. So I'm big on trying to get the majority of your nutrients through the natural foods and everything, but sometimes we're just not given the right amount of foods or the right quality of foods to be able to get the right amount of nutrients that we need to help support the immune system in our body. I'm not a big fan of giving people nutraceutical supplements. I'm not big on giving people those things to treat symptoms. We don't do that. In fact, what we do is we give people supplements if they're deplete or deficient in things, so their body can use those as building blocks to help its immune system itself. Some people will mistakenly say that I take vitamin D3 for colds and sickness. No, you take vitamin D3 because it supports your body's immune system. Without your body being alive, put vitamin D3 in a dead body, and guess what? It does nothing to the immune system. So vitamin D3 is the building blocks of your body to be able to support it. So vitamin D3 is important. About 42% of the United States population is deficient in vitamin D3. Vitamin C supplement may help reduce duration of an illness by 17%, is what I just read in some research over here. So the vitamin C needs to be there, and if you're depleted in it, it's going to prolong illness. Also, vitamin C is great for lung health too. So when our kids ever have coughs or anything like that, we give them high dose vitamin C as well, because it helps reduce the duration of it. But it also helps. Now, again, those things happen. Sickness and disease happens because they were depleted in this stuff in the first place. You guys have heard zinc along the way, okay? I think President talked about it when everybody was talking, that he was talking about drinking Clorox and zinc, right? Or something like that. I don't know what kind of foolery they had in the media at that point in time. But anyway, side note, zinc may help reduce the duration of sickness as well by 33%. So you want to make sure that you're taking zinc, not just any zinc. If you get it from Walmart or CVS, or you're getting it from GNC, more likely it's probably garbage. You need zinc that has to be bioavailable to the body, and so you have to have it in the right way. Ours is bioavailable. Our supplements are the highest nutrients that you could possibly get. The last ones is elderberry, echinacea, and other herbs like medicinal mushrooms. These things, medicinal mushrooms, okay, don't mistake what I just said there, medicinal mushrooms. Basically, elderberry helps decrease the time that you are sick. Echinacea is a plant used for generations and actually decreases the time that you're sick, helps support the body's immune system along the way, sometimes decreases the amount of time that you're sick by 50%. Medicinal mushrooms have antitoxicities. They help the body as far as with free radicals. It's antioxidants. It's actually super strong for your body. Well, one of the things that we've done with Max Living is we've created this Max Living bundle that has all those things that I just talked about: the zinc, the IM support, the vitamin D3, the vitamin C. Now, if you feel like your immune system, you're getting most of the stuff through your nutrition, then great. But if you feel like, hey man, I'm looking for something that can help support my body. I travel a lot. I'm out in the public a lot. I don't necessarily eat the best foods all the time. This is a great way to go through this is the Max Living bundle. Now, I think it's like $105, but they're going to put a link in here that will take you to our store. If you want this bundle tonight, it's $88 or something, or $89 or something like that. So it's actually a great deal because it has 4 supplements. It's all exactly what you need when I just said about decreasing the duration of time, but also helps, like I said, supports the body from healing from the inside. This is exactly what you want, is the body healing from the inside along the way. Cool. If you guys have any questions, ask the ladies on the chats here. Ask them if you have any questions. Also, make sure, again, tag your friends. Send the link out to people as we start to come up. Next week is going to be about cancer awareness. Actually, if you guys, ladies, if you mind, put my email in there. If you guys have more in-depth questions for me, my email is docsoup@gmail.com. Feel free, shoot me an email. I answer patient emails all the time. So if you guys have kind of issues or questions along the way, please ask questions. Again, hopefully I didn't offend too many people, but if I offend you, then more than likely we can't be friends because I offend a lot of people. I'm just kidding. I love people a lot. I'm passionate about what I say. If it goes against and it offends you a little bit, then maybe it's something that you should look at. And if it offends you too much, my church had this saying is that we eat the fish and leave the bone. And so what that means is eat the good stuff, take the good stuff that you got from this, and then leave the rest behind. Do I think I'm 100% right? Well, to me, I think I am. But to you guys, I don't think I'm 100% right for you guys all the time. So along the way, ask questions, challenge me. I'm okay with that. I'm a grown up. You guys can ask me questions. I'm not early in practice where you're going to offend me. I promise you won't. Not only do I ask that people that hang out with me not be offended, I also don't get offended too easy along the way either. Strengthen your natural defenses. Cancer awareness. Next week is about cancer awareness. One of my best friends passed away from cancer 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago now. Charlie Majors, one of the best human beings that I've ever known in my whole life. Still sad about it, still think about him daily. But he was supposed to die even 6-7 years before that. He was diagnosed with 4 brain tumors. They gave him 3 weeks left to live. They said, you got to start chemo and radiation right away. They tried to do brain surgery. It didn't work. And so they said, you need to start chemo right now. And there's a good chance that you're not going to survive past 3-4 weeks anyway. But he said, no, I'm going to find a different way. And we went to Reno, Nevada, to a specialist there. We went to Spain for a specialist there. He sought out specialists in Myrtle Beach. He sought out specialists in St. Louis, constantly reading. And we found a lot of stuff out. We found out what cancer really is. In fact, a lot of what I talked about this week is going to be a lot about what I talk about next week, because cancer, you'd be surprised if I say this, you have to tune in next week. If I told you cancer is a natural response that your body is trying to protect itself, you guys would all say that I'm crazy. So just to let you guys know, I'm going to talk about that next week. So it's a good teaser for next week. Again, if you have questions along the way, please send this off to people, share it with people. My whole goal is by the end of this 6 weeks is that we have over 150, 200 people that are watching this thing live. Every week we want to just keep giving more information, sending this stuff out. Even after the fact, there's going to be a lot of people watching. You guys have a great and blessed night. Again, the questions, the links will still be there. I'll come back and answer some of them later. You guys all have a great and blessed day. Love you guys. Have a great night.